Joyce and Joseph Parker have just met, press conference and faced off. So reaction coming up live on BWTM Sports. Don't go anywhere. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to BWTM Sports Gaming. Thanks for joining us as always. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, leave your comments. As always, we appreciate your comments. And if you haven't subscribed already, do smash the subscribe button, get across in the corner where it's got the notification bell. Make sure you click that to all to make sure that you are getting all of the latest content live to your inbox. Okay, so let's get on with this. Joseph Parker and Joyce just met for a press conference. In the press conference was Joyce's manager, and then we had Frank Warren, Joyce himself, and in the other corner we had Ben Shalom and Joseph Parker. I think at one point Joseph Parker was being promoted by Frank Warren, and then he left BT, I believe, and now he is with Ben Shalom, the boxer. So he went for the better deal. That's what happened. Parker went for the better deal. It was the most interesting thing about the press conference was, I think his name is Adam Morley, who represents Joyce, just speaking openly about how excruciating negotiations were behind the scenes. And Frank Warren and Joseph Parker getting into one. Parker saying he wanted to get basically going for the better deal, saying he agreed to 1.5 million. Frank Warren talking about doing me a favour. More like the bottom line is, and you saw Frank was getting agitated. Frank was picked up his phone to say, look, you're lying. This is what it is. So if you want to go there, Frank was very quick there. I'm surprised Frank didn't try and pull out the contract while he was at it as well. He looked like he wanted to pull out a contract. He pulled out his mobile phone. So I think it was pretty tensions between Frank Warren and Joyce while keeping it professional. But that was quite interesting, and I wouldn't mind listening to a bit more of Frank Warren, Joyce, and Ben Shalom. And Joseph Parker. I found all that quite funny. I was going, go on, Frank. And I kind of felt sorry for Ben Shalom, but Ben Shalom is very quickly becoming, in my mind, the guy you go to if you want a fight to happen. Like, back in the day, when you wanted to win a fight and you'd lost your world title, you went to Emmanuel Stewart, and Emmanuel Stewart would be the guy you'd go to fix your problems, more or less, and get you back into world title contention, and you win a world title. Emmanuel Stewart will sort of like kind of repair you. Ben Shalom is almost becoming that guy that if your contract's not working out right with one guy, run to him. Ben Shalom is becoming that guy that if you can't make a fight happen via the normal route, go to Ben Shalom. He'll make it happen. Ben Shalom is the guy that makes it happen. Unfortunately for Ben Shalom in this situation, he wasn't there when the original negotiation between Joseph Parker and Frank Warren and Joyce was happening. So you Frank was almost saying to Ben, pipe down. You're on BT Sports now, mate. You're on BT Sports now. You're not on that Sky Sports business. You're on BT Sports. Remember that, son. BT Sports. No boxer here. BT Sports. But Frank, the old shoulder roll, and told Ben Shalom exactly where he was, just in case he had forgotten that he wasn't on Boxer, or he wasn't on Sky Sports, that he was on BT territory, and Frank was very clear about it. It was also clear to let Joseph Parker said, well, why should I be the B side? Why am I not the A side? And Frank said, well, you're not the number one contender, and that makes Joyce the A side, and that makes you the B side. Well, has he ever been a world champion? And Frank, well, you're not a world champion now, are you? So very interesting. There was a moment where Parker turned to Joyce and said, "Shut your mouth," almost, and then Joyce was like, "No, I'll make me." So it's there. There is something there between Parker and Joyce. I think mainly because of the whole negotiation thing going on, and obviously Joyce calling Parker a duck. They're trying to duck the fight. But I will reiterate some things I said before, and I will say them again. I also have to point out, if you notice in the press conference, Dev said that he's been called, Joe Joyce has been called a young George Foreman. I was the guy who pulled that George Foreman thing up a while ago. I kept saying, this guy reminds me of George Foreman. He reminds me of George Foreman. So it's nice to know that people are still listening to BWTM Sports. The thing about this fight is, if you look at amateur pedigree, Joe Joyce is by far the more accomplished fighter. Amateurs, but this is the pro game. There are question marks about Joseph Parker. I have always been a big fan of Joseph Parker. But around the time where he was about to fight Anthony Joshua, it seemed to me like he'd hit a ceiling, and Kevin Barry was not the man for Joseph Parker. I'd said that countless times. He's now going to Andy Lee. Andy Lee will add technical and mental components to Joseph Parker. I thought Joseph Parker had a good chance of, at one point, becoming unified and undisputed champion at one point, because I thought he was that good. I thought good chin, good stamina, good punching power, good footwork. But then fights against Anthony Joshua, and then he had to fight against Dillian Whyte, and I felt Joseph Parker went off the boil. It was almost like he was in it for the money, but it seemed he was comfortable. He made a statement when he was fighting, before he fought Dillian Whyte, that I've made it, I've made the money, and that mindset was there. So he almost got very casual. And I said, if he takes that approach into a Dillian Whyte fight, Dillian Whyte would bully him, and Dillian Whyte bullied him in that fight. Now, here we come again, another fight. We saw the Derek Chisora fight, where people say arguably the first fight Chisora won that fight. The second fight, Parker was more effective, capitalizing on Derek Chisora's limitations, because he brings a fight, Derek Chisora, but he brings no game plan. He fights the same way every single damn fight. Just brings it, just gets in shape, gets fit, old school, throwback, come here, throw as many punches as I can, see if I can get you out there. There's no game plan. And the first fight, that was well with Parker. The second fight, Chisora had his moments, but Parker let him off the hook. I don't know if that's because of their friendship or whatever, but there are times that Parker could have finished the job there against Chisora. I don't read too much into that second Chisora fight for me, because I've never thought Chisora was. Well, he's not that good. The 12 or 13 losses, some of those losses he lost, the fights he lost, were political reasons, i.e. the Hellenius fight. They were pushing the agenda of Hellenius at the time. The Nordic Nightmare, they were pushing his agenda when I felt Chisora beat him that night. Again, that's another fight. I have to go back and watch Chisora versus Hellenius, as well as Chisora versus Klitschko. But back to my point. I just feel with this fight that Joyce is going to come. But if Joyce fights the way he fought against Christian Hammer, and he's his chin stuck up in the air, he's going to walk onto a right hand and several right hands. And whereas Hammer didn't have the speed to put 2-3 punches together, Parker can. If I'm Joseph Parker and his team, I say, listen, for this one fight, this is what we need to do. In and out and to the sides. In, out, to the sides. Do not back up straight against Joe Joyce. In, do your work, get out, slide to the sides. Slide to the sides. In, do your work, get out, and to the sides. Make him miss, make him pay. That's how you fight Joe Joyce. Make him miss, make him pay. Slide to the sides. For Joe Joyce, double and triple up that jab. Push Parker back to ropes. Lots of feints. Push him back to ropes. And when you get him to ropes, work his body and bring it up for the middle. Because when it gets really hot in there, really hot, with the sort of punching power that Joe Joyce has. That we're going to see whether Joe Joyce. It's going to be a battle of wills, and so far, Joyce has shown that his will is unbreakable at the moment. Now, remember, Joyce was stopped in the amateurs, I believe, in the first round by Anthony Joshua. That was a long time ago. But the thing is, if you look at the Christian Hammer fight, the warning signs were there. This is for me a more dangerous fight than Daniel Dubois. Why? Because not only is Parker heavy-handed, I think he is. He punches hard enough to hurt Joyce because he can put punches together. The other thing that's dangerous about this fight, Finn, is the movement and the experience. When Joyce fought Dubois very much is very green and just a novice puncher. I've always said that about Dubois, a novice puncher. And, he was yet to get hit back in the fight. Parker now has been hit in the fight. He's been dropped. He's got back up. So I just think if Joyce hits Parker with something early, he's going to get on his bike and getting out of there. I don't think he's going to stick around to mix it up. Or if he does mix it up, he'll mix it up. He'll throw shots and get the hell out of there. If he stands and trades with Joyce, I don't know. Parker's got the faster hands in a trade-off. But I don't know when the punches start flying whether Parker's going to want to stick around. Hello, Barry. Hope you're well. I'm going to do FIFA straight after this, so I hope you join me on that. Good to see you. Mitch says, Joyce had 20 amateur fights when I was in Naples. I'm 30 years old now, and he's still being touted as a prospect. I don't know. Joe Joyce has got the best resume in boxing when you talk about guys who've not fought or won a world title. He's got the best resume. In fact, he's got a better resume than Lennox Lewis had when Lennox Lewis was 15-0. And Lewis had just been, I believe, 14-0, 15-5, I think he fought Gary Mason. So correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe that Joe Joyce certainly has a better resume in terms of this stage of his career, in terms of the number of fights he's had. Look at the guys he's fought, so I think Joe Joyce has done well for himself. And I won't look too much at the age. Heavyweights are a totally different breed compared to the lower weight divisions. Heavyweights get better as they get older. Where the lower weight divisions, they're always drawing and pulling weight all the time. So that constantly pull himself down into weight all the time to get himself into shape is, I think, detrimental to a fighter. And that's what the aging process with them. But I think, in my opinion, that Joe Joyce, the heavyweight division, they don't have to worry about making weight in the same way. And it's not dangerous the way they make weight. So that's why I think heavyweights can go into their 40s and still be in good nick. Stefan, good to see you. Blessings. Just catch up with Joyce Parker. Little Joe going about as Big Joe being a champ. LOL. Yeah, I know. Funny though. I found that little thing between Warren, Shalom, and Joseph Parker very interesting. The three of them there. You weren't there, were you? Well, you're on BT Sports now, mate. On BT Sports. But yeah, I think all in all, good fight to look forward to. Looking forward to the press conference, the face-off between the two guys. That should be interesting, depending. Carl Frampton's doing it, so it should be interesting there as well. But I've said it before. Going back to something I said before about Joe Joyce. I think Joe Joyce should say less. He should say less. I'm going to put a dent on his face and stuff like that. It sounds like, not even funny. It was criminal, some of the things that were said at that press conference. Bosh. Dent in his face. It sounded like, it was like watching CBBS, watching two CBBS for those people who are international, not don't watch BBC TV. It's like for kids of a primary school age or toddlers, that sort of TV educational value. And listening to those two talk, it was I like Joseph Parker. I think he's got a great personality. I just don't think Joe Joyce should not talk. He should not talk. He's one of those guys that say, "I'll let my fist do the talking and leave it as that." He should not talk. He really shouldn't. Also, I wanted to know how Andy Lee never realised his partner was giving birth in July when Parker had a fight lined up. Funny. Mick says, Ingram, I hear you, but I wouldn't be surprised if Joyce doesn't stop Parker conclusively. That said, he does need to keep his tools. Yeah, that can happen. That could definitely happen, Mick. That can definitely happen. It's if you're bloody minded when you're making a bet on this fight. Are you rock solid sure that Joe Joyce's defense is going to be tight enough or secure enough against Joseph Parker? His defense against Christian Hammer was shocking, absolutely shocking. You can't keep getting hit with the chin like that. You know, people say the fist do the talking. Joe Joyce is letting his chin do the talking. What the hell is Ishmael Salas doing for Joe Joyce's defense? That's the thing. What is he doing for his defense? I mean, what is he teaching him? It's all right getting him hitting a tennis ball, doing that stuff for a tennis ball, and getting him dancing. That's nice. But what the hell are you doing for his defense? And are you going to keep his hands close, tight to his, tie that up tight so he's tight there, or are you going to put a newspaper under his arm, or Joe Fraser style? What are you going to do to tighten up Joe Joyce's defense? Because if his chin is world class, his defense is not even area level. That's my problem with Joe Joyce defense. So they say to have a good defense is to have an awesome offense. So, like I said and alluded to before, Joshua stopped Joyce in the amateurs for a reason in the first round. So, right there, you wonder why. Like, David Haye no longer is with Joe Joyce. Sam Jones is no longer with Joe Joyce. Frank Warren's still sticking with him. But I just think that Joe Joyce, like I said before, that hairstyle he needs to get rid of that. The second thing he needs to do is stop talking in press conferences. Look, I'm here to do the business. That's it. But this is a fight that puts Joe Joyce on the map. Never mind the Dubois fight. This fight puts him on the map because Parker's been in there with Dillian Whyte. He's been in there with Anthony Joshua. And he's also been in there with Andy Ruiz. So he's been in there with relevant heavyweights. Joshua's fighting Usyk. Whyte just finished fighting Tyson Fury. And Andy Ruiz is about to fight Ortiz. So he's a relevant heavyweight. He's a relevant heavyweight in terms of Joyce beating him. And you now can start saying, okay, you can't do that with Daniel Dubois. You can't say that with Stavern because, well, Stavern, even though I was with him, right up in the hotel room with him the week of the fight when he was in the UK. With the Joyce fight, he wasn't as well prepared as he could have been. So I just, Bright Jennings fight was a good fight. The Bright Jennings fight I still think the Bright Jennings fight is Joe Joyce's best fight win. I really do. Because in that fight, Joe Joyce was significantly hurt. Dev, my friend, I love you, man. I really do love you. But I don't know where you were the night that Joseph Parker got dropped and significantly hurt by Dillian Whyte. You said at the press conference that nobody's ever seen him seriously hurt. Seen Parker seriously hurt. I've seen Parker seriously hurt. And as for Joe Joyce, it was Brian Jennings that hurt Joyce, not to the chin, but to the body. So body shots are what hurt Joe Joyce. Go back and look at the Brian Jennings fight. That's another fight I've got to go back and watch. Joyce versus Jennings. Good fight. So those are my thoughts there. Yes, Parker could get Joyce out of there early if Joyce's defense and he hasn't learned his lessons. But you better sort that defense out. Joseph Parker, I still think he has the ability to be a world champion again. He's one of those 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. He's got that there. I would love to see Parker versus Usyk, actually. I would love to see that fight. Love to see it. I would also love to see Parker versus Wilder. I would also like to see Andy Ruiz Parker too. But, yeah. Love to see those fights. Those are fights I'd like to see. Even Joseph Parker against Daniel Dubois. Now, that's a fight I'd love to see as well. Because that's the sort of fight for me that will answer a lot more questions about Daniel Dubois. So I like Joseph Parker. I just hate the fact he's fighting Joyce, but it is what it is. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. As always, don't forget to rate, subscribe, leave your comments as always. Really appreciate the love and support. Do share the video as well. Share the video out there and consider becoming a member as well. That allows you, when you become a member, to when I do live shows with guests, you can jump on and have your say. All right, let me get the hell out of here. Speaking of that, James El Bashir, 20 minutes time. Get subscribed. Right, I'm out of here. Take care.